After that massacre at that Parkland, Florida high school, students turned activists trained their own political sites on the NRA, launching a boycott championed by the mainstream media.
I'm glad that companies, which are what will stop the NRA from doing what they're doing and basically killing kids, the companies are going to be the ones that are going to stop this. And I'm calling out every single company right now who is not in favor of cutting their ties with the NRA. The NRA has shown themselves to be toxic, vile, and to not support the right to live, which is in the preamble of the Constitution.
I'd say Planned Parenthood maybe hasn't supported the right to live. But look, the NRA has been in business since 1871. And it does more to promote responsible gun ownership and gun safety than any organization in the country. The fact is, Nicholas Cruz should never have gotten his gun because he was a mental case, and he was engaged in criminal threats of violence at school and on the internet. The gun control gang has just misdiagnosed this problem. We need to know the real cause of the Florida shooting in order to help prevent these tragedies in the future. So I have to ask you, why aren't we looking at the effects of things like the Promise program at Stoneham Douglas, which, by the way, we exposed here last night? That incentivized keeping the shooter's disturbing and criminal actions from the police. And it allowed Cruz to keep a clean record, and so when he went to buy guns, he wasn't stopped. And what about his tumultuous family life, his social isolation, and the possibility that Cruz's prescription meds might have triggered some of his mania, too? We've heard precious little about that. But instead, liberal activists ignore those and other important factors, and they scapegoated their favorite boogeyman and political enemy, the NRA. So what did? They kicked off their well-orchestrated boycott. And through social media pressure, they were able to get more than a dozen companies, Hertz, MetLife, Best Western, Wyndham, and Symantec, to end their NRA partnerships. Delta and United Airlines said they would no longer give discounted fares to NRA members traveling to their annual conference. But now, the Georgia state legislature, which granted millions in tax breaks to Delta Airlines, decided it had had just about enough. The lawmakers in Georgia voted to strip Delta, which is headquartered in Atlanta, of all of its heavy jet fuel tax exemptions. That cost a lot. Georgia Republican Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle tweeted in part, "Corporations cannot attack conservatives and expect us not to fight back." Well, today, Ed Bastian, who's Delta's CEO, he issued a memo to employees that the company was, quote, in the process of a review to end group discounts for any group of politically divisive nature. Our decision was not made for economic gain, and our values are not for sale. But what about valuing and protecting your customers? Why alienate them? You know, I was thinking about today as I was getting ready for the show. Remember how this line from Obama went over in Middle America?
When you go into some of these small towns in Pennsylvania, like a lot of small towns in the Midwest, the jobs have been gone now for 25 years and nothing's replaced it. And they've gone through the Clinton administration and the Bush administration, and each successive administration has said that somehow these communities are going to regenerate, and they have not. So it's not surprising then that they get better and they cling to guns or religion or antipathy towards people who aren't like them.
Oh, I'm just a bitter clinger. I'll never get over that line. But it was so condescending, so insulting, and it was wrong then, and what these corporations are doing to the NRA is wrong now. Because of the corporate cowardice of these companies, people who aren't NRA members are actually considering joining.
I'm not an NRA member, but I'm thinking about it. I think the publicity that they've gotten have allowed people to kind of align their thinking a little bit and figure out whose side we want to be on the side of.
I'm definitely liberal about just about everything except for this. I think if we stopped kind of demonizing all gun owners, we might be able to actually sit at the table and come up with something that would keep guns away from the people that shouldn't have them.
I'm not a member of the NRA, but I'm going to join now. This is an outrage.
Well, I'm telling you, this could be the beginning of a backlash that could be felt by other businesses in red state America and right into the midterm election cycle. Companies ceding to this political pressure of the moment think they may have burnished their brands by pleasing the New York Times, the Washington Post, and pretty much all of Hollywood. But they've also kicked a hornet's nest, offending millions of law-abiding, peaceful Americans who support the Second Amendment and the NRA. And by the way, those people vote too. And that's the angle.